A pleasant afternoon to Sir Jonic and our panelists today. We are the researchers of typhoon and flooding effects on the physical and mental health of the residents in Santa Rita, Batangas City, and we will be presenting our topic proposal now.
The contents for today that we will discuss are problem statement, proposed solution, theoretical and conceptual framework, related studies, and references. Problem statement.
Calamities such as typhoons are common phenomena that occur in the world on random periods. The people live their lives experiencing such events as the world is a natural enigma and there exists no research in which we can fully mitigate these disasters. The impact of the damages after a typhoon is not one can consider minimal when unmitigated. The amount of damage to personal and public properties in urban vicinities, wildlands, and agricultural sites in rural vicinities may exceed the maximum if unprepared for, knowing the hazards caused by a typhoon. The economy of a country runs on businesses, agriculture, and employment. When a typhoon affects these assets, people's mental health will destabilize and may cause potential turmoil. The fear and anxiety for their homes and belongings being ruined by a disaster are what they feel in the aftermath.
For the statement of the problem, number 1, how typhoons and floodings affect the life of the residents in Santa Rita, Batangas City when it comes to physical health and mental health. Number 2, what are the impacts of typhoons and floodings to the community of Batangas City? Number 3, how is the typhoon affecting the economy? Number 4, what are the effective strategies in combating the declining mental health of the affected residents in Santa Rita? And lastly, based on the results of the research, how can the study help meet the necessity of the residents when it comes to their physical and mental health problems?
So, here in proposed solution, me, Thessalonica C. Medrano, and Halle Patricia Mendoza will be the presenters. Typhoons can cause negative feelings and emotion, as well as heavily impact the lives of those fallen victims by this natural disaster, by suddenly shifting their livelihood and mental and emotional stability for the worse. People should normalize educating themselves on what they need to do before, during, and after a disaster strikes. Mitigation and its program is the researcher's solution, which entails identifying strategies to protect the environment and the people affected by the proposal. A program to improve the country's hazard mitigation skills should seize possibilities for immediate and near-term success while also ensuring long-term improvement.
I am Halle Patricia F. Mendoza and I am here to present the last part of the proposed solution. To further improve the infrastructure's energy efficiency, retrofitting could be necessary. The use of renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and water that assist urban areas to further enhance sustainable modes of transportation such as bus rapid transit, electric vehicles, and biofuel. And promoting more sustainable land and forest uses are all examples of mitigation strategies by reducing the pollutants the city produces, thus aiding and lessening in the damage of potential natural disasters and keep waters and soil clean amidst this to prevent diseases from arising. If the population were to dedicate even the diminutive portion of their daily lives to put the above mentioned into practice, it will become the solution in preventing the cause of heavy depression, post-traumatic stress disorders, insomnia, and anxiety from happening to the common people.
Theoretical framework. Since the Philippines is highly susceptible to being struck by tropical cyclones and typhoons, Benavides, Jackson, and Maxwell made a research about creating a non-structural method for mitigating floods in 2016. It relates to our researcher's topic since the main proposal is how to dampen the effects of these disasters beforehand by proposing better land use management and watershed rehabilitation with its use. Primarily the land utilization and capability indicator, also known as the LUCI model. a study about analyzing the effects of typhoon at a calamity-prone area in Batangas City, discussing the factors that affects how bad a typhoon is when it hits a particular landmass. Also how it affects the affected people's mental health about what happened. A subtle and basic solution and tips for everyone about typhoon, listing down ecological solutions for lesser typhoon damages to the people.
Conceptual framework. Input. Profile of respondents and necessary information about the state of the place they live in. Elevated, lower ground, grassy, rural, and urban. Process. Collecting data through questionnaire containing question to gather data needed. Example, for the past typhoon that hit Batangas, are there any damages that affected you? Lastly, the output. Presenting the result of the data that was collected. Data, statistic, ratings, and percentage.
The study's outlook is presented in the conceptual framework. To make the study's data easier to understand, the researchers employed the input-process-output model. In the input, the researchers will find respondents in Santa Rita, Batangas who will give necessary information needed in the study. Secondly, the process which contains details about the study's data collection. To finish the research, the researchers made a survey form through Google Forms to gather the data needed in the study. Lastly, in the output, the researchers will present the results of the data that was collected. In the input box of the conceptual framework, profile of respondents and necessary information about the state of the place they live in, like elevated, lower ground, grassy, rural, or urban. In the process, collecting data through questionnaires containing questions to gather data needed, e.g. for the past typhoons that hit Batangas, are there any damages that affected you? And in the output, presenting the results of the data that was collected, data statistics, ratings, and percentage.
In the study conducted by Exaltacion E. Lamberte, Fiorillo Petronilio A. Demeterio III, and Wilfred Luis L. Clamor on 2021, due to its location in the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Typhoon Belt, the Philippines is exposed to natural disasters. In the study Harold James E. Doroteo in 2015 conducted, according to an analysis of the Philippines' high-impact tropical cyclones, the bulk of the victims were impacted by inland flooding and landslides. Flooding can occur in overflowing rivers, saturated soil, low-lying places, and poor drainage as a result of the intense rain.
Jezebel E. Lobina, Jesse G. Gorospe, Richelle E. Relox, and Sonny A. Vedra in 2016. In the 20th century, typhoons have claimed the lives of over 29,000 people in the Philippines, and approximately 500 lives are lost each year. Due to massive water volumes, typhoons yield being quantities of heavy metals. Extreme heat, viral diseases, illness that are food and waterborne, together with poor air quality, are all key contributors of climate change that affects the morbidity and mortality rates.
References of this research.
Thank you for listening, and once again, have a good day to everyone.